Sadly, I think there are a lot of obstacles to openness and honesty. Perhaps in some ways, and often I think unidentified or unappreciated, are two big key ones within the Christian community. One is the problem of triumphalism, where everybody's okay all of the time, because that's how we're supposed to be. We're living in victory after all. We're people of the resurrection. So when we come together, everything is great. And of course, life just isn't like that. We struggle, we battle, we backslide, we're broken. And you find yourself sometimes in that sort of context. It can be hugely challenging to open up. I was recently in a meeting of ministers and representatives of Christian organisations in Wales. And I was there speaking on behalf of the evangelical movement of Wales. And I was the last person to speak. It's one of these round the table situations. And one by one, each one was talking about how wonderful their ministries were and the tremendous things that God is doing and the remarkable encouragements and everybody was congratulating one another. I felt positively inadequate. And it came to my turn. I said, well, to be perfectly frank with you, I spend most of my time working with Christian leaders who are struggling. Many of them feel like quitting. There are problems in their families and problems in their churches, and it's really hard. And immediately the whole environment changed. And we flipped from everybody trying to effectively, I think, outdo each other about how wonderful everything was, to a huge reality and honesty. And I think triumphalism is a massive challenge to the openness and honesty that the New Testament calls us to. And the second one, which is really the other end of the scale, is pietism. There's a lot of good things about pietism, and I'm not speaking really about the big historical pietistic movement, which in some ways is different. But there's a pietistic element in some areas of evangelicalism today where assumptions are made as to what good godliness looks like. And I fear that within that is an inability to say that real godliness also involves me putting up my hand and saying, I have had a dreadful week. I'm not sure I even believe in the resurrection anymore. Something's gone wrong in my marriage, or I'm having real difficulties with doubt and with fear and anxiety. That immediately, whether it's a triumphalistic paradigm or a pietistic paradigm, that is seen as something we're not supposed to be like that. And that's a huge challenge to openness and honesty in the Christian life. And then there's a whole raft of other reasons which are really to do with us as individuals. We may have had bad experiences in the past where we've tried to open up to someone, we've trusted them, and effectively they haven't been able to manage it. Either they've been simplistic and dismissive in the way in which they've responded to us, or maybe they've actually broken the confidence and gone and told someone else. That can be devastating when it comes to trying to build relationships with other Christians and on the basis of, let's be honest about where we are at the moment, and in that honesty seeking the grace of God. There are lots of other reasons as well. I think sometimes we're fearful of intimacy. We're fearful of the kind of opening up and sharing of our lives as we should be. And that fear can be really great. It may be because of our upbringing. It may be because of all sorts of reasons. But it's something we need to work at and overcome if we're to enjoy and be strengthened by the benefits of fellowship with other believers as we work at our struggles and our battles. And I think one of the biggest problems, speaking as a pastor, and folks in Wales are busy and trying to find time to make that time for one another, and not doing it in a freaky sort of weird, let's organise fellowship way, but actually finding time where we can just share our lives with one another. That is also, I think, a bit of a hindrance to developing relationships with other Christians where there's honesty and openness.